I got a new rose, I got it good. Yes, I knew that I always would. I can't stop to mess around. I got a brand new rose.
Take number one.
See the sun it shines. Don't get too close or it'll burn your eyes. Don't you run away that way.
Good evening. You're in the confines of my gentleman's club, and I'm about to open the first dubious piece of writing here. Some lyrics of evil spirits that you keep in mind. Not quite sure what that means, but, lyrics that were written. Things. I tell you one thing about lyrics was Standing on the Edge of Tomorrow. When I wrote that song, I did wonder if I'd written the words too many times, because they repeat, which is what songs are supposed to do, but I've not quite done it that way. And I don't think we've done a song which repeats itself so much that it's neat, to be honest. But they're lyrics which, unfortunately, they just stay in your mind for days. You know, it's like a little earworm. So.
Standing on the edge of tomorrow. Standing on the edge of tomorrow.
Right, number two, over here, I think. This one looks dodgy. Music for Pleasure Still. Music for Pleasure was a funny album because it was our second album, and we didn't have the producer we originally wanted. We wanted Syd Barrett to produce that album. And the reason we thought of Syd was obviously we're a big fan of his work, but I think his agent or whatever was upstairs from Stiff Records, which is our record company. And they thought that he may consider it. And in fact, he had considered it. But then, in the end, when we were sitting in the studio the first day, the door opened, and in walked Nick Mason from Pink Floyd, the drummer, and said, "I'm sorry, but I think Syd's not going to make it, and they've sent me." Well, I do. So we ended up, and bless him, you know, he did the best job he could, but it wasn't the kind of thing we wanted. And also, I think the album suffered a little because Brian was at that time, unknown to me at the time, thinking about splitting the band up, I think, and running out of material, perhaps. So, you know, I still think there's good tracks on that album, but it's probably not the most well-respected album of ours. So that's Music for Pleasure, anyway. Here we are in my inner sanctum with these green, ominous pieces of paper. Who would you like to kill next? No, it doesn't say that at all. It says your absolute hero. Goodness gracious, absolute hero. Musically, I don't know. There'd be people, you know, obviously there's a connection now with David Bowie, who was an amazing musician. Longevity of his career was fantastic. And our producer, Tony Visconti, who came to do this album, was chosen because one of the main reasons I had listened to Black Star, loved it, loved the sound, and thought that Black Star, that track, related to music of ours, you know, the kind of journey it takes, similar to, in a way, Curtain Call, different speeds, different things. So absolute hero, though, that's more someone that does, I don't know, firemen and policemen, I suppose. No, I don't know. Okay. Do you like your time? No, I'd like more of it. Another couple of lifetimes would suit me. I think that's something that no one's ever asked me about is the fascination with, you know, vampires or whatever. One thing that I would say is the fact that they live for a certain amount of a long time means that you could have different careers. You know, like if I'd been a vampire, I would have been a film actor in the 1930s, and then, you know, a flyer of the Zeppelins maybe in some other life. So I would like a little bit more time, but unfortunately it's running out at the moment. So I'll see you. No, so now you come to a point in life where you realise you want to tick off the things that are really important to you, that you want to do, before you miss out completely. Being in a band, being friends. Now, does that mean being friends in the band? Well, it's a weird thing about this band because we're all friends when we're in a room together. And you have to get on because otherwise you wouldn't stay together this length of time. But having said that, we don't really see each other socially outside of the band. You know, you'd think a band that spent so much time together wouldn't have anything to talk about. And there's been times when we've been in a dressing room waiting to go on stage where they've had to say, look, you've got to go on stage, but we're talking so much and laughing about something that we forget, you know. So, yeah, we're still friends. We're definitely friends. With a sense of humour. We know where all the bodies are buried.
By Louisa, I'd love to please her.
Where does your goth part come from? Well, that existed before the Damned. It's just I never analyse it, but it may have had something to do with being a child of the 50s and growing up with black and white television and old films, perhaps, I don't know. But it goes beyond that. I've always been drawn to gothic architecture and beautiful antique furniture and just the way... And you know, I remember even when I was a very small child and I saw the Universal horror films from the 30s and the impressionistic films in the 20s was that I wanted to live in that castle on the hill, you know. I wanted to be Baron Frankenstein or whatever. It wasn't just about the monsters. I thought, you know, where other people go, oh, look at that creepy place, it's horrible. I'd be going, oh, I feel right at home there, you know. The last one, this is terrifying because it's the last one. Oh, the time that remains. Well, you're out of time, sorry. No, the time that remains. Well, at this point in history, for me personally, is I'm at that point where if I don't do the things that I really want to do, then they're not going to happen. So I'm ticking off boxes for myself. Until the next lifetime, at least, you know.